Welcome, one and all, to the Friday, April 1st edition of the Signals from Mars live stream. Joining me tonight is Johnny from the band Maule. Johnny, how are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I'm glad that we were finally able to hook up, and I know we scheduled this a while ago,
Oh yeah.
and it's awesome to have you on tonight.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say that when I received the promo, it instantly stood out to me obviously, being music that I've been into for a very long time, but also the melodies and just the music and everything just really just stood out to me. So I wanted to
Thanks.
ask you. Yeah, sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
That's all good. Oh, I just said thanks.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to talk to someone from the band about it, and right off the bat, I look at the liner notes and everything. I have the vinyl, and me like a dope, I should have had it with me to show it off, but I always forget this type of stuff. But I looked at it and saw that the band is only three people. When you look at a band that plays the type of heavy metal that you guys play, it's usually singer, two guitarists, bass, and drums. But you guys are a three-piece. Why did you guys feel that being a three-piece was good enough?
Um, well, actually, when we recorded the album, we were a four-piece at the time. So
Okay.
there was me on bass, Eddie was on drums, Daniel was our lead guitar player, and Jacob was the rhythm guitar vocalist. So
Mhm.
we did still get to have all the twin harmonies that you want and I think need in the classic heavy metal type of feel. We're a three-piece right now because, well, Jacob and Daniel both left the band to do other projects, and we brought
Okay.
in a new guitar player. So we're a three-piece for the moment.
Mhm.
But unless unless I get really good at singing really soon, we're probably not going to stay a three-piece.
Okay, gotcha. So you're looking to switch things up.
Um, get replacement members or new members. I'd say is a better way. Like find a new singer, maybe add a second lead guitar player to get that classic lineup you were talking about.
Mhm. Okay. Awesome. Quick shout out to those in the chat. I see Jose in there already,
Oh,
Brad,
chat.
Jeremy, and I see Johan in Sweden. Thanks all you guys for joining us. Feel free to drop your questions in if you have any questions for Johnny that I can ask him along the way. Um, you guys are from British Columbia, obviously, probably the biggest act to come out of there that's hard rock or metal related is probably Devin Townsend, correct?
Mm. Um, I'm not really sure actually. I mean, there's a lot of guys coming up locally that are really big, like Gatekeeper and Black Wizard are both pretty big. I think Archspire is another one that's from around
Okay.
here that's pretty huge.
Well,
But
what's
there's some people coming up.
okay? What's the scene like in British Columbia for metal right now? I mean, can you guys tour around the province and play shows, or do you have to play across Canada, or do you have to cross over into the states to play?
Well, for the states, it's tricky. The last time I think we checked, it was like $750 per person for a visa to get in as a
Oh
musician to
wow.
play there, which
Hmm.
is, I mean, like that's just not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Um, doing interprovincial tours, like to go through the interior of BC and to go to the island, is something pretty much every band from here does, and
Okay.
I mean, that's always a great time. It's just the stretch of going across the mountains to Alberta is like the first main hurdle because that's where you start getting opened up to the rest of Canada, where you got to cross over.
Hmm.
We haven't done that yet, but that's something we are planning on doing.
Yeah.
In terms of locally, I'd say the local scene's quite good. I mean, people play all the time. There's shows going on basically nonstop. You just got to be willing to go out there and find what you want to see.
Okay. Cool. Um, What was that first inspiration for you? What song or what band did you listen to that made you think, "Man, I wanna be a musician?"
Oh, yeah, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day of grade 11, and, I'd been playing electric guitar, like, on and off for about a year 'cause, all my buddies were playing Guitar Hero, and I thought it was so stupid that they were playing, like, a plastic guitar when you can buy a
Right.
real guitar for cheaper, and I was like, "I'm just gonna learn a real guitar and play that," but, I didn't really know where to start, and to be honest, I wasn't very good at it, and one of my buddies was like, "Hey, why don't you try bass guitar?" And I was like, "I don't even know what that is." He's like, "Here, check this out." And he gave me his Walkman or whatever, and, he had Rothschild on fire, and I listened to, like, the first, like, the 1 second of it, paused it, and was like, "What is this, man?" It's like, "Dude, that's Iron Maiden." And it's like, "Whoa." So I borrowed his, CD player and just listened to it the whole rest of the day at school, absolutely ignoring all my classes and teachers, and then at the end of the day, it's like, "Dude, I need to borrow this. I need to listen to more of this." He's like, "Yeah, go for it."
Right.
And, like, I've already been involved in music basically my whole life, so I was in my school's concert band and jazz band. And I was like, "Hey," I was playing trombone at the time. I was like, "Hey, can I borrow the school's bass guitar?" And they're like, "Okay, we know you, we trust you, you can borrow it." So I took it home, looked up a tab of Rothschild, and just played it nonstop for a month until I could play it all the way through. And I was like, "Okay, I guess
Right.
this is what I'm gonna do to myself now." Like I after that one first second, it's just been a complete like life change.
Mhm.
And that was
So,
it for me. And then seeing people play live, and I was like, "Whoa, like this is a live metal band, like I need to do this." And I
right.
had times where I was questioning, is this something I should be doing? Is it not? And then on Judas Priest's Epitaph tour,
Mhm.
I think in 2011, I think it was, I did a bunch of shrooms and I saw Judas Priest playing, and I was like, and I was just looking at Rob Halford, and I was like, yeah, yeah, this is it. This is for me. I have to do this. Like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, and just so you know, in the chat, we have Brad Dahl saying that bass is the most important instrument in the
I want to do
band,
that.
and Johan in Sweden responds with yes. Just so you know, they're both bass players. So,
I read something funny that said, bass guitar is the eyebrows of the band, so you don't always notice or look at it, but you really know when it's gone.
ah, there you go. Brad, you're the eyebrows of the podcast and live stream. How about that? Um, anyway, so is it safe to say that Steve Harris is your biggest influence based on the type of music you
Whoops.
play?
Oh, easily, easily. Like, there's bass players who can, shred and do tapping solos and all this and that, but
Mhm.
man, what that guy can do on 4 strings is more than what some people can do on 6. Like,
Right.
it's not just the technical ability, it's the songcraft, like being able to tell an engaging, cohesive story within anywhere from, well, it's Iron Maiden, so I guess in like 8 to 12 minutes, but I that's it's not just the playing, it's just that songcraft ability that I really look towards. And then his tone is just so good. So yeah, he's my number one.
8 to 12 minutes. You're talking about the classic albums, newer ones. Yeah, anything shorter than 16 to 18 minutes doesn't make it
Yeah,
on
I
the
guess. Well, I
album.
mean, they're really giving you your money's worth, I guess, that way.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. A lot of songs that were on your original demo from Hell ended
Mm.
up on the self-titled studio album. Um, was there anything that you purposely wanted to do when taking those songs from the demo stage to the actual full length, or did you feel that those songs were just good as is and didn't need to be worked on anymore?
Well, for the demo, it was more so of, we were playing shows and people were asking, "Hey, can we find your music online anywhere? Can we do this or that?" So
Uh,
we always wanted those songs to be on an album. They were just the songs we had done at the time. We're like, let's just record these and have them out there as like, so on the Facebook event for our shows, people can have a link and kind of see what we sound like right off the
mhm,
bat. Going
right.
forward with recording, we looked at the song and said, "Hey, are there areas we can touch up? Are there things we want to change? Do we just want to leave it as is?" And then of course having the extra production on it was, I think, the biggest game changer.
Hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Um, there's four new songs or four newer songs
Mm.
that came sometime between the demo and the full length. Are these songs that were already written and just didn't get on the demo, or are these songs that you guys wrote after the demo was put together?
Um, a bit of both, I'd say. I think maybe the title track Maule was either done or close to being done at that time. I don't think we'd played it yet.
Okay.
But I think the 5 we put on were the ones we had played the most so far that we knew excuse me, that basically we knew the best. So we're like, "These are the ones we always play, these are the ones people know. Let's go with these ones."
Hmm.
For
Okay.
the other 4, we took more time working on them and getting them done. Like, we kinda just kept adding songs to our set list as time went on.
Hmm.
So they just weren't up to the, point of being recorded yet, I think, at the time,
Gotcha.
if I'm remembering that right.
Okay. You have tracks that have just some sick melodies in them and just some ridiculous stuff that just gets stuck in your head. A song like Summoner, I can listen to that song and then have the chorus part stuck in my head for days at a time. I'm gonna start charging you guys rent for space in my head, because I can't get the song out of my head when I start to listen to it. I mean, when you guys are writing these songs, or how do you approach that to say, what, we need to have this, and we need to have this type of a chorus, or do you look to do something specific, or does it all just kind of come out naturally?
Well, I'd have to say first, we need to charge you a licensing fee if you're playing our song in your head all the time. I mean, I don't know how that comes off of rent. So we'll go over that later.
Okay.
I'm glad you said Sumner because that's actually the first song I ever wrote, like,
Oh, wow.
about 10 and a half years ago. That no matter where I am, I always love playing that song. Maybe
Hmm.
just because it's my first, or whoops, 1 second.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's my first, or that I just love playing it. I don't really know.
Right.
In terms of writing, what for me at least, what usually happens is I get a riff stuck in my head or a
Hmm.
chorus line that's stuck in my head, and I write the song around it. So with something like Summoner or Ritual or any of the other songs, it usually starts with that hook where it
Right.
starts. I just get a hook in my head randomly, and I'm like, oh, that needs to be in a song. Okay, let's write a song around this hook or this really cool chorus line or verse or something like that. That's kind of how my songwriting process goes. With the other guys, they'll usually start with a riff, like they'll noodle around on the guitar, like,
Hmm.
oh, that's a good riff. Let's see where that goes. But for me, it's there's something catchy in my head, and I cannot sleep until it becomes a song.
That's awesome. Um, let's see. We're being asked in the chat here. Do you have any other bass influences outside of Steve Harris?
Oh yeah,
And
a ton.
okay, can you name
Uh,
any?
well, Getty Lee and Cliff Burton are the next two that come up. Of course, like they're just legends.
Okay,
Um, Not only for bass guitar, but just as a frontman in general. Like I love Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy. Like he's like the man. Like they
okay.
are. If it wasn't for Iron Maiden, they would be my favorite band.
Mhm.
Like just, like the way he can command with his bass lines is just so good. And then Jaco Pastorius, or however you pronounce his
Mhm.
last name, that jazz player.
Right.
Uh, he's been great. Him and Victor Wooten to go into jazz and kind of explore more of the fretboard. And then there's another guy on YouTube I've been following called Charles Berthoud that does a lot of tap solos. It's
Okay.
just like I've gone outside of metal for a lot of newer influences just to be, well, these guys are doing something completely different than I am. So how could I expand my playing ability beyond that?
Mhm. Cool. Yeah, because the next question was, is there anything outside of hard rock and metal that you're into? And obviously, you are from the stuff that you mentioned. Um, when you said YouTube, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to say Davey 504, but okay, that makes sense.
So I found this guy through Davey 504 actually. He was doing one of his challenge videos. And then I
Okay.
went and I saw his solo work and I was like, oh, this guy's not a meme. He's actually really good. Like he's just straight up good.
Right. Is he the guy that plays with the Rickenbacker?
It looks like a Rickenbacker. He's this like white dude with really short blonde hair who plays like everything he does is like these crazy tapping solos.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I've seen the guy on Davey's channel a few times, but I
Hmm.
didn't remember his name. But yeah, it looks like a Rick, but the bottom horn is like cut out further. So I
Yeah,
was
yeah, that's the
wow,
guy.
okay. So that's not really a Rick. Wow, I never noticed it. It's definitely a good knockoff then.
Mm. I think it's I can't it's LaFay, I think he plays. A LaFay Piccolo solo master or something like that.
Okay.
I mean for a knockoff, I think 8 grand's pretty steep, but
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
that's not a knockoff.
Yeah.
That's my ignorance when it comes to
Dude, I didn't know either. I was like, dude, 8 grand. I mean, this got to be the best base ever if it's gonna be 8 grand.
yeah. Um, as far as your gear, what are you using to play out live in comparison to what you used in the studio?
I actually use the same bass guitar. Like I only main one instrument at a time. So
Okay.
right now I'm using a Midnight Blue Rickenbacker a 4003S,
Okay.
and then I had the bridge changed to the Badass 2 bridge. I had both
Mhm.
of the pickups changed to Seymour Duncan's.
Okay.
I copper shielded the inside of it. I deaded the channel switch for the pickups because I like them both active at the same time.
Oh,
I only
okay.
left my master tone and master knob on. Like all the rest are just, whatever. So I did a lot of work into it. And then I put a mirror guard on all of it too, because
Okay.
gotta have the mirror guard. Looks so cool. Plus, you're playing a show and someone's not paying attention, just shine it in their face, and you're like, "Hey, look at me."
Yeah, I was gonna say that with again another Steve Harris trick where he would bounce the lasers or assorted lights off the pick guard. So that makes sense.
Really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I
I'm
guess
sure
I
you
love doing that.
yeah. Um as far as the pandemic goes, was there any silver lining for you or the band when it came to the pandemic? Do you feel that you were able to spend maybe more time trying to work on certain aspects of this album? Did it suck because you guys weren't able to play shows? What exactly do you feel? What was good about it and what was bad about it?
Um, well, the good about it was probably Serb because I think we used that to pay for our album.
Okay.
The bad about it, the bad about it was not being able to just play shows. I mean, we had recorded our album in February, and then we played, I think, the last show in Vancouver before everything was shut down on the 16th or 17th of March in
Hmm.
2020, and like we went from playing 2 or 3 times a month to just not playing at all. Like when you start out as a band, you're always kind of looking for shows, being like, "Hey, let's do this, let's do that." But we
Right.
got to the point where we were able to be selective, where we're getting so many offers, we could just pick and choose where we wanted to go and which would be more fun or which would make us a better return or which would get us seen by more people. But then all of that was taken away just so quickly. So we're gonna have to start that back up again, which is a little frustrating, but
Right.
it is what it is.
How do you envision that process going? I mean, you guys are going to start to play local stuff and then slowly as the word gets back out there that you guys are doing shows, slowly start going out further.
I think that's the way to do it. In terms of playing locally, I'm not really sure about the venue situation right now because I think a couple of them closed. Like there was a
Right.
place called Pub 340 that we played just a million times. Like everybody in a band in Vancouver plays there. It's kind of like the spot to play,
Right.
and
Mhm.
it shut down like almost immediately and is just
Mm.
closed forever now. So I'm not really sure on the venue situation. Plus, a lot of the places charge like so much to play. So
Oh,
I'd like to start up again doing locally, but if it's financially impossible to do that, then we'll go to the cities around Vancouver and do like mini tours, I guess.
yeah. That's something that a lot of people don't realize. That just the economics of everything. You know, you talked about what it was like for the visa, and obviously if you have to pay to play, you know, that totally sucks. I mean, based on what you're saying, that's just in the city of Vancouver, but you can play a little further out and you don't run into that type of stuff.
We're not entirely sure about how it would go outside of the city, like going into the interior of British Columbia, like the smaller towns like Kamloops and Kelowna. Just because
Right.
they're smaller towns, we're making the assumption that it would be cheaper to play there,
Hmm.
not accounting for the gas it would take to get there.
Right.
But here, there's sometimes you can get luckier, but I think a lot of it now is a pay to play situation, which it's just stressful because then instead of focusing about your show, you're kind of focusing about at least breaking even, so you don't
Right.
go into debt just to play.
Yeah. Yeah. I had somebody on the show a few months back from a Swedish band called Manimal, actually. And the
Great name.
singer Samuel talked about that. He said, you know, we're looking to hopefully go out and play this summer, but it needs to make sense for us. And he said, you know, if we break even, he goes, or even if we lose a little money, he goes, it'll make sense for us. He goes, because, you know, playing shows and getting the audience reaction and all that will kind of be like payment for us to go out there. He goes, but if we have to, you know, pay a lot for gas, if we have to pay a lot, you know, to stay places or whatever, you know, just from an economic standpoint, if we can't make sense out of it, then we're just doing, you know, one or two shows a month someplace locally, and that's it. He goes, because we can't afford to just dump money out there and not make any sense. So I get what
Yeah,
you're. Yeah.
yeah. It's I will say it's 100% worth it. Like the
Hmm.
experience of playing a show live is 100% worth the cost. But it's you have to kind of temper that with being responsible to, do I want to make myself go bankrupt doing this? Do
Right.
I want to take out a bunch of loans? And we're all getting close to our 30s, if not over. It's that point where
Mhm.
you're like, oh, do I have a house and mortgage now that I have to worry about? Like, am I
Right.
going to be in financial ruin with debtors like constantly going after me? So there has to be a balance with it. Like, of
Mhm.
course, like you expect to spend money and maybe not make everything back, but if you're out, if each member is in the hole like 2 grand from doing a tour, it's like, well, now you got to wait another year before you can go out. Like, you can't just
Yeah.
recoup that instantly.
Right. You don't want to mortgage your future just for a few shows.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Um, so initially or at this moment, you don't have any shows lined up. You're talking about you're reshuffling the band currently.
Hmm.
Um, what's that process going to be like? You know, what specifically are you looking for? I mean, obviously you're looking for people that are into you know, bands that are or players that are influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal bands, specifically Maiden or bands of, you know, that style. But what else are you looking for initially, for with new band members?
Honestly, it's someone you can get along with. Like,
Right.
there's something to be said about someone's innate talent and ability to perform and play. But when you're going on tour, especially in bands of this size, so if anyone's listening and they want to start a band, you have to get along with people first, because you are
Right.
going to be trapped with them in tiny, tiny confined spaces. And
Right.
something they do that you don't really notice is going to become the most annoying thing in the world to you. That's going to make you want to kill them, even though it could be the smallest thing. It could just be the way they breathe.
Right.
So you have to make sure you flow. You can get along. You have good comedic timing together.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it'll just be a nightmare of stress, and it'll feel like you took a vacation just to work.
Right. Makes sense.
So
Um,
that's probably the first thing. Just make sure you get along first. You could have the most amazing player in the world, but if they're just an asshole all the time, it's not going to be worth it.
okay, so hypothetically, let's say you could fill the band out with any members you want. Who would you bring into the band?
I would get I would add my old lead guitar player back. Daniel, because he's like my Gary Moore to Phil Lynott. Like he'll do an album with you, and then you just always ask him, "Hey, do you want to do another one?" He's like, "Oh, I can't right now." It's like, "Okay, do you want to do it anyways?" So I get him, and then for a singer, I'd cast the spell and try and resurrect Dio as like undead Dio, because his voice is amazing, but if he was undead, it'd be slightly more gravelly, and I think that would work with our sound really well. So I'll take Daniel back and undead Dio, and then I think we'll be good to go.
Awesome.
Let's hope he wasn't cremated.
Well, we are speaking in hypotheticals and dream scenarios. So I mean, whether he was or
this is purely hypothetical. Purely
Yes.
hypothetical. There are no plans in motion.
There's
in the eyes of the court, I could never be tied to anything. It's this purely hypothetical. That's all this is.
there are no spells being cast or anything like that. So
not at all. 100% not true.
It isn't like the first thing that came to mind, and of course it's someone else who's deceased. I don't know if you've seen the show The Orville, but Norm Macdonald, who passed away a few months back, his character was like a gelatinous being. I forget what the name of the character was.
It was like a blob thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the first thing that came to mind when you said that, I hope he isn't cremated. The first thing that came to mind, like, whoa, he'd be like a singing blob, maybe. Well, okay, so let's
or you eat like a bit of the Dio dust and then you gain his power for like a short amount of time.
There you go.
Interesting.
Then that's like a half-baked type thing. That's Jim Brewer and with Jerry Garcia's ashes then.
Either that or I gotta find like a pet cemetery around.
There you go. So let's take this question a little further. If you were able to go out on tour and you were able to play with any band, new, non-existent, if you could resurrect them, what two bands would you want to go out with?
Well, I mean, obviously Iron Maiden. Like, I have to say that. Like, they're my favorite band. It would be a dream to tour with them. Okay. Not just because they're my favorite band, though. I just think they do it right. Like, with the amount of success and fame they have and the draw they have to shows, they're still not charging that much for a show. Like when you can go see bigger bands from that era charging anywhere from $300 to $500 for like a general admission ticket, and Maiden's like, no, we like cap it at 100. We've always capped it there. That's just how much it is. So I like that kind of access to the show for the audience. I think they have a great crew, and they have their own plane and transportation. So it would just make touring really easy to tour with them. So it's not just the music aspect. They would be really easy to tour with. So I go with them right off the bat.
Okay.
And second band. I go with Priest, because Priest and Maiden, I don't think have ever played a show together. I saw an interview where Rob Halford was talking about it. Like, why don't you play with them? He's like, dude, I don't know. Like, we'd be down if we can schedule that. We'll do it. And then I think Steve Harris was like, yeah, we'd love to do it. I don't know why we haven't. It's just never in our schedule. So I'd do that. I mean, I don't think anyone would show up to see me play, but I would also get to see Maiden and Priest play together for free every single night. So that kind of makes it worth it to me.
There you go. Maiden actually opened for Priest, but when Deano was singing. So very, very long time ago.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think it was on the touring the first album, if I'm not mistaken. So it did happen. It's just been eons ago. But yeah, I've seen both of them say similar. You would hope that they'd be able to make the planets align for that before either band calls it quits.
Yeah, I think, Priest called it quits a while ago. I think that Epitaph tour was supposed to be their last one. And as soon as the tour was over, they're like, no, we're not done. We're going to do more. It's like,
well, yes. Like 2 weeks into the tour, they were like, no, we're not giving up. And it was like, you guys kind of said you were.
Yeah.
So,
with Maiden, those guys are so healthy. I think they'll kind of just tour until they drop. Like, they'll do what Lemmy did and just keep playing until you're just so delirious you don't even know what song you're playing. And people will still love it.
Right. Well, Bruce actually said that recently. He said that they'll play till they drop dead on stage. So
nice.
So there you go. Since you did mention Getty Lee before, and I know that we have a huge Rush fan
Oh yeah.
that always follows here. What would you say is the quintessential Getty Lee song to learn how to play on bass?
Maybe Anthem from Fly By Night.
Okay.
It's a good introductory song to like his playing style that's not too difficult, because some of the stuff Getty plays is just absolutely mind-bogglingly insane. And
Right.
this one's kind of in the tamer range.
Hmm.
On top of that, it's an absolutely kick-ass song. Like it just
Right.
rips nonstop. That whole album's great. Like Fly By Night, so underplayed.
Right.
Yeah, so I go with Anthem just to start. Like start with something like Anthem, get a feel for his style, his kind of timing, and then eventually work your way up to, doing YYZ. That's kind of like your next step. Then
Mhm.
after that, do 2112. Like take on the big guy. You gotta at least do the intro overture for 2112. It's
Right.
so banging, not that hard, and it's just it puts everything together. Like it puts his style, his timing, a lot of the crazy bass work, a lot of the melodies, just into one cohesive piece. So start off low and then build up to 2112. It's gonna take some time. That's a 20 something minute song. It will take a while, but you can do it.
What do you think is the hardest song to learn from Getty's repertoire?
It's a very good question. Like my mind initially jumped to La Villa Strangito just
Mhm.
because it took them 4 months to record that one song.
Okay.
But I honestly think it might be 2112, just because it's of how long it is and how you have to have the timing down for the whole song. Just as
Right.
one, like if you can play that perfectly the way he plays it all the way through on one clean take, it's like, dude,
Mhm.
that is unreal. Like props to you. You put in your work.
Yeah. Cool. And as I figured, Johan has commented with good choice. So he's there with you.
Nice. Thanks, Johan.
Awesome. Um Today's Bandcamp Friday, and I happened to pick up your album on Bandcamp Friday back in January. The reason that I did that is I wanted to make sure that I was able to put the most amount of money in your pocket when picking up the album. And I have to say that I looked at a lot of other albums and the shipping was just way too much. Every Bandcamp Friday comes along and I look at what it'll cost to get something to me, and the shipping is usually kills me. Uh, I found that your album was economical to get out to me, and I was like, wow, I really like what I heard from the promo, so I'm going to pick it up. And that's exactly what I did. If if people want to go out and buy the album, is Bandcamp the best place for them to pick it up, or is there someplace else that they should go to pick up the album?
Well, I first want to say thanks for picking up the album. That's really cool. I appreciate that. Uh, in terms of, well, go to Bandcamp if you want to own the digital album. If
Okay.
you live if you live in Canada, you have to order it directly from us
Okay.
at our band email at maultheband@gmail.com,
Mhm.
because we have the exclusive distribution rights for Canada.
Oh,
You
okay.
did talk about shipping. Man,
Mhm.
that is no joke how expensive that gets. Shipping is unreal.
Yep.
If you live outside of Canada, though, unfortunately, you can't order the CD or vinyl anymore. Our first pressing is sold out.
Oh, wow.
Before the 2 month mark, we completely sold out our label's entire stock. So
Hmm.
you can only order it now if you live in Canada until they
Okay.
do another pressing, which we'll make an announcement if we can get that rolling, because we would like to do another printing of the vinyl and the CD. But yeah, apparently it people absolutely ate it up. It's just gone so fast.
That's awesome. Yeah, and that's well deserved. Like I said, and uh, Jeremy's in the chat. He usually does a segment on the podcast. I repackage the interview we're doing tonight, and I release it in audio format. And he does a segment called Patrons Pick, and he featured the album as well. And I also did an unboxing for my patrons of the album. And so you've definitely, from people that listen to to my podcast or watch the live streams. There's a lot of love here for Maule. So it's
Thanks.
awesome to hear that that's sold out. I mean, it sucks, but at the same time, that's actually a pretty cool thing, because I don't know that there are a lot of bands that can actually claim that, not in 2022.
Yeah, it was really surreal for us. I mean, we saw our label Gates of Hell make a post saying there's only like 7 vinyls left or something about a month ago. We're like, wait, what?
Right.
Like, it's hard. And they're like, CD's already gone. We're like, dude, no way. Like, none of us expected it to sell out. We thought we'd do okay, but to completely like hit our contract goals in 2 months was like, whoa, it's unreal. There is a major downside though, as to do more pressings, like to do another vinyl pressing, just because all the plants in Europe are just so backed up. Like, I think we sent our files, or our label sent our files in September, and it took until January to get it done. So, I mean, if you're really hurting for that album, unfortunately, it is going to be a while, I think.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm in Europe, so that kind of makes sense. I mean, if the album came from Europe, I mean, it's smart that the label did that, because again, I looked at an album that I really wanted to get today, that I'd been listening to quite a bit the last few weeks, and converting it from euros to US dollars with the shipping and everything, it was almost $80. And I'm like,
Jesus.
yeah, that's way too much. I'm not paying, more than half of what the vinyl is worth in shipping. And like I said, I think yours was, it was like 12 to ship to me, and it was pretty reasonable. I think all in all, it cost me like 30 something euros, which was kind of reasonable. Or which was, but some of this other stuff, I want to support bands and I want to buy stuff, but it just, at the end of the day, sometimes just doesn't make economic sense. Similar to you guys going out and playing, I just can't plop $80, $70, $60 down for a vinyl album. As much as I'd love to do it, I just can't. It just doesn't make sense to me.
As much as I love people wanting to pick up our physicals, the first thing I always tell them is, oh, you can listen to the whole thing on YouTube or Spotify for free first. It's more so, it's having someone actually really want to listen to your music feels really cool. So my first instinct isn't like, oh, I can sell them this. It's like, oh, dude, you can just check it out here. It's fine. And then they're like, no, I want to buy it. I'm like, whoa, really? But I always like to offer that, just to be like, hey, if you can't get it or you don't have the cash, it's for free here. I'll send you the links. It's free. Go for it. It's fine. It's no big deal. Because it's exactly what you said about it. You want to support bands, but it's not really viable with the prices some of us have to charge. Like, in order to pay for pressing and to pay for shipping, it's gonna be sometimes over $50, maybe $80. Like, our shipping in Canada to send a CD, it's not bad at all. It's only $5. But to send a vinyl, like one vinyl costs $25 to ship in Canada. Wow. Yeah, that's
crazy.
Hurting. That's hurting.
And that's 5 times more. And I get it. That's stuff that you guys can't control. I spoke to Joey Vera, another bassist from Armored Saint and Fate's Warning and a bunch of other bands, because they had this really cool, like a 3/4 sleeve Armored Saint t-shirt that they were releasing. It looked like an 80s throwback with red sleeves, in the middle was black and everything. And I'm like, oh, I want to get this. And it came with a cassette copy of, I think it was the album Symbol of Salvation. I forget. But again, it was like 100 something to get here. And I messaged him. I'm like, dude, I'd really love to get this, but you guys are killing me with the shipping. And I said, and I get that you guys have no control over this, but just, understand that you're working with a big label that, in his case, he's working with Metal Blade, who can, relatively print stuff all over the world. I get it that everyone has to wait, but when we're talking about t-shirts, for example, it isn't the same as a vinyl. You can print t-shirts up in Europe without there being an issue. But 100 something bucks to get it is, I don't know. That's just way too much. Love the band, but I got to put food on the table.
Jeez, what is What, does the shirt get its own seat on the plane? Is that what's going on? Like, that's
Really?
a lot of money.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And there was a way that I could get it from the UK, but yeah, I'm in the only country that charges import fees from the UK for anything over 22 euros. So I would have still had to pay I don't know how much other nonsense for receiving it. So
Jeez, that's a mess.
yeah, absolutely. um,
Yeah, and we
yes,
understand when someone's like, "Hey, I wanna buy it, but the shipping's too high." Like, we totally get it, like, it's nothing, we don't take any of that kinda stuff like, "Oh, you want it, but you won't pay for the shipping." It's like, "No, no, no, we get it." Like, it'll eat a big chunk out of your wallet to get
mhm,
with shipping. So we totally understand. It's just not a really great situation for the bands and the people wanting to support. It's just,
right.
oh, it's just it's just kind of frustrating, honestly.
No, I get it because it's tough for you guys too because I'm sure you guys could have a lot more sales of physical copies of things if the shipping wasn't such a detractor.
Mhm.
Um, because if it was comparable to what it's like to ship the CD, I'm sure that a lot more people would say, "Shit, I really like what I heard on the streaming service, so I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna support the band. I'm gonna pick up the physical copy of this." Whereas, if it's 25 and then the album costs, I don't know how much it costs Canadian to sell, but if it's 25 and 25, it's costing people 50. Sure, you're going to have people that are still going to buy it, but I'm sure that a big majority with that shipping price, will be deterred. With all that said,
Mhm.
still awesome that you guys were able to sell everything out.
Yeah, there is a silver lining to not being able to sell and ship that my drummer talked about. He's like, it's still good to have a good stockpile when you go touring and when you play shows locally, so people can buy at shows. Like, that's always good to at least have that backlog of inventory as well. So
Point.
that's the silver lining we have about this. But that's
Yeah.
kind of basically it.
Well, that makes sense.
Mm.
Yeah, and I always like to tell people that listen to the show, if you like something, if you like somebody that I'm interviewing, if you check their music out, sure, use the streaming services first. But if you like what you hear, support the band one way or the other. If you can pick up, a T-shirt or an album or a CD, do so. So I mean, I'd try to make sure that people share the love with you guys.
I'd say the best non-monetary way excuse me, the best non-monetary way to support any band is to
Hmm.
share the music. Like,
Right.
when it's available in so many forms, just be like, "Hey, there's this band I like. You want to check them out?" Like, just
Yeah.
that word of mouth sharing is huge, and it
Mhm.
doesn't cost anything. And that's, if you want to support a band without having to break the bank, I think that's a great way to do it, and it's pretty easy too, and it gives you something to talk about. Like, there's a bunch of, or one new band I got into recently that I've been telling all my buddies about, called Double Gettin. I think they're from
Okay.
Canada. But man, that album they put out, Getting Dangerous, like, number one, I love the pun from the name. And then the album just rips. Like, the guy's such a good singer. I would take him
Right.
any day. He's so good.
Cool. We'll have to check that out. Cool. And if people want to keep up with you and Maul, where should they go?
They can check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/mall official. They can
Okay.
check us out on Instagram, Mall the Band, and they can always just check our Bandcamp.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
those are
that
our
will
main guys.
okay. And that will keep people up to date as to what's going on with the band, whether you guys are doing shows or if you've got any other releases coming out.
That's exactly it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you spending all of this time with us tonight. I'm glad that we were able to make this happen. And I say tonight because in my part of the world, it's almost 1 a.m., but I know for you, it's almost 4 p.m. on the west coast of Canada. So it's a 9 hour difference. So I thank you for spending the afternoon with us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. And like I said, the album's been a big hit for at least several of my listeners. Brad, who's also in the chat, mentioned that he had gotten the CD as well earlier today. He mentioned it, so it's awesome that a few of us were able to pull the trigger on it. So yeah, thanks for coming on, and wish you nothing but luck.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks to you and your fans for the support. Really appreciate it from all of us.
Awesome. All right, Johnny, you have a good rest of your day.
Okay, you too, buddy.
All right, man. See you. There you go. Johnny from Maule, bassist extraordinaire. Jeremy, you said, can they sell through EMP, free shipping for one-off annual fee to the UK? Yeah, I have the same thing from EMP as well, when they're not sending me women's shorts that are supposed to be going to Finland instead. That comes down to the label. Even with the Bandcamp, they mixed up the shipping, or something with the shipping got screwed up. And I remember they sent me something saying that I forget what it was. And I reached out to the band, and they said, yeah, we don't control that. You need to reach out to South Lord, who is their label. So so that's what happened there. Jeremy saying, another cool interview. Thanks. I appreciate it. And I was talking to him all the way back in the beginning of March, late February, and we couldn't make things happen until tonight, until April Fool's Day. And I'm glad that we were able to pull it off. And I thought it was cool. I mean, there's a bunch of us that have listened to this album, and I do think it's an awesome album, and I do recommend you checking it out. And now, streaming services is the only way you can do it, unless you buy the digital copy on Bandcamp. Cool thing with Bandcamp that they've done recently is they've set it up so you can have your own playlist now. That's something that they've never had in all the years that Bandcamp has existed. So that's an awesome feature that they've added. I don't know. To me, that's great, because I'm all for playlists. I love listening to full albums, but sometimes you just want to have some good music going on in the background, and you just want to have specific songs. So instead of having to stop and flip through things, because there are some things that I only have on Bandcamp. So to me, that's an awesome feature. Brad is saying, great interview. I will be playing their music once I get on top of all the music I have. Well, there's a special date coming up for Brad, which maybe that will happen after things take place. Can I divulge your information, Brad, or is it top secret? Let's see if he responds. So many great small bands out there, Brad says. There absolutely are. So no, that was Jeremy. I'm sorry. Okay, so it's top secret, but we're all friends here. So Brad has let me know that June 20th will be officially his last day of work. So that will be when he can get on top of these things. I think after June 20th, we have to launch a new podcast. Stories with Dr. Poison. Oh, June 30th. Okay. My bad. I possibly read that wrong. I think we need to do story time with Dr. Poison, where it doesn't need to be long, can be like a 10 to 15 minute episode, and each episode is a different poison related story. I think that's something that that people would be interested in hearing the nuttiness of people. So look at that. Jeremy saying, best news we've heard. He can concentrate on music. Yeah, I think he's looking to do a world tour, although the tour dates in Sweden were canceled. But I will still be working, though. Okay. That is a brilliant idea. You see that, Brad? Huh? I'm looking out for you. So we need to make that happen. Story time with Brad. Story time with Dr. Poison. And working on my British accents. Hello, mate. Oh man. I'm gonna do an episode. Next time I have Jeremy on, we're gonna reserve time to have Jeremy to have Jeremy teach me different British accents. He's gonna imitate them, and then I'm gonna try to do them back to him. He's nothing but a bloody wanker. There you go. All right, mate. So, yes, stupid, the stupid British accent for the night. So there you go. Poisonous Tales. There you go. Poisonous Tales with Dr. Poison. I'm telling you, it'll be a hit. Jeremy says that he will do that. We will do the accent show. Enema du jour. My spouse is great. She's great at what? Doing the accents? Your scoos. Okay, I don't know what scoos is. Explain yourself. What exactly is scoos? Since obviously he did not mean his spouse. To quote, okay, so scoos is from Liverpool. So it's one of the Mersey accents. So the Liverpool accent is different to the Manchester accent then. And I may be pissing people off by asking this question. Which is funny because the Gallagher brothers, are they from Manchester proper? See, I like Oasis, but I don't know this. Liam Gallagher. No, Scousy. Okay. I wish I could do a Utah accent for you. What do you mean you can't? Oh boy. Okay, so they're from City's Old Grounds. Yeah. So when I looked up Liam Gallagher, the first thing that came up was Liam Gallagher's son and Ringo Starr's grandson spared trial over late night Tesco, which is a is saying that Tesco is like the equivalent of Walmart over there. Is that fair? Daily Mail is saying Judge blasts entitled rock offsprings, Liam Gallagher's son and Ringo Starr's grandson. So that's the big thing on the Mirror, Sky News, Evening News, The Telegraph. William John Paul Gallagher. Liam. Liam is short for William. Look at that. Asda is Walmart, but Tesco is similar. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. It says here it's from Manchester. So yes, okay, that makes sense. In any event, we are getting close to the top of the hour, and I have an early morning. I have a 7:30 get up, so I have to be up in roughly 6.5 hours, which is more than enough time for me to sleep. But I don't want to push it tonight since we're going to have a busy week. There will be no live show next week because I will be away at a basketball tournament. So no show next week, but the following week I'm working on guests that I may have on, and we have to fill out or figure out what we're going to do for this month's patron show. Will it be top 10 thrash bands? We could do top 10 bands that we've seen live. We could do top 10, I don't know, UK bands, top 10 American bands, top 10 new wave of British heavy metal bands. I don't know. There's a lot. Top 10 Swedish bands, maybe. Jose, who I will be seeing shortly as well. Looking forward to that. We'll be seeing his sister tomorrow. So the following week is Easter and Passover. Yeah. We're still going to have, well, Easter's on Sunday and it's Passover, I guess, on Sunday as well. But yeah, I'll talk to all you guys in Patreon to see when we can do the next Patreon get together. Can't be the 8th, but we'll figure it out. 15th, 22nd, or 29th. We'll be doing the show. So that's that. Thank you guys once again for being here. Thank you, Jeremy and Brad, for the pre-show on Fireside. It was a lot of fun talking Dio and hypotheticals there with Dio and Black Sabbath and his solo band. Was an awesome question there, Brad. And I think if you guys are patrons, you'll get to hear that episode next week, the Fireside Friday pre-show. And there was a lot of cool stuff that we talked about. So awesome. Look forward. You should look forward to hearing that next week, as well as today's episode. So on that note, I thank you guys for being here, for all your support. I realize that, as I always say, there are a million other things that you guys could be doing today, tonight, depending on where you are across the 6 time zones that we usually cover. But you choose to be here with me and listen to me interview people. And I appreciate that sincerely. And if no one noticed, this is one of my Christmas grabs, which Jeremy asked about if I would be rolling out any of the Christmas merch that I got. And there you go. So there was Somewhere in Time, a reimagining of the Somewhere in Time album cover t-shirt, kind of, sort of. Anyway, thank you guys for watching this live and participating live. Thank you to all of you that listen to the replay, audio or video. Remember to go to MarsAttacksRadio.com to keep up with everything that I have going on. Go to VMRIT if you need to have any type of audio editing or website design done. And that is all, folks. Thank you for being here tonight. No April Fool's joke. I was thinking of saying, yeah, I'm leaving podcasting and seeing what type of a reaction I'd get from you people. But I figured I wasn't going to do it. So anyway, thank you guys. We'll see you next time right here on the Signals from Mars live stream, brought to you by the Mars Attacks Podcast, VMRIT.com. See you, folks. Until next time, which will be in 2 weeks. See ya.